ICT Functional Skills, Excel Maths. Topics you need to know. The basics, getting started. The mathematical operators. What you need to do if you're mixing operators. Symbols for currency, as well as percentage. And the logic of greater than, less than, greater than equal to, and less than and equal to. Now we're going to look at Excel, specifically using Excel for maths. And you can use Excel to do very simple calculations. Here in this cell, you can see I've literally done, this cell is equal to 52 times 37, and gives my answer of 1924. In most instances you won't use Excel like this, but it is possible. Excel is more useful when you want to break down this formula, and elements of it might change. So here you can see I've actually listed 52 weeks, 37 hours worked a week, and I've used this formula to refer to those cells. So you can see this formula actually says is equal to B4 times B5. So if for any reason B5 changed, and you work 35 hours, my answer changes accordingly, and that's particularly useful in that way. Now the basic operators within Excel, so you can use your plus, minus, times and divide, are all found on the right hand side of a keyboard on the numeral pad. To make sure they work, just make sure the numeral lock light is on. And you can see examples here. I've used one cell plus another cell. You can mix cells as well as numerical values. So in this case, I put one cell minus a numerical value 4. So it's 52 minus 4, now 48. You can do one cell times another cell, or a specific value. And this cell divided by another cell. They're not particularly useful like that. In some cases you may need to mix operators to do bigger formulas. Occasionally you might have something come up and there's no issues whatsoever, so I've done 2 times this here and put it in brackets so I can just separate it from my own view. But if I did it with mixing operators, maths rules apply, and Excel follows those maths rules you're meant to do. And you can see here I've actually got 2 different answers if I don't use brackets. That's because it does the timesing first. So what it's actually done is 9 times 2 is 18 plus 4. So in the maths rules, that operator times would happen before the plussing. So to make sure it works, I need to say first, I want 4 plus 9, with 13, then times that by 2. And it's those sort of things you need to consider for mixing operators. Just be hot on those maths rules first. Then you've got sort of symbols and formatting to be aware of in Excel. Again, it's not difficult, so if you want a value to show as a percentage, you can manually add it. And Excel understands what it is you're trying to do. And here I wanted to work out 20% of 5. I want value 5. I've manually typed in 20 and a percentage symbol for 20%. And I referred to them here. So H2 times H3 is actually 20% of 5 is 1. But if I typed some values, or had some values, and I wanted to turn them into percentages, just be wary of this. If you use this symbol here, it's not just adding a percentage sign, it's also timesing it by 100. So 20% is actually 0.2. So if I type the percentage symbol now, I click it here, and turn it into 20%. But if I had actually just typed in 15 for 15% and 20 for 20% and so forth, I wanted to add a percentage symbol, clicking this wouldn't give me the answer I was after. So it wouldn't just add the symbol, it would also times it by 100. So just be wary of that. Here I manually typed that symbol and Excel understood what it is I wanted to do. Other symbols you want to do is turning something to currency. So I'm going to select these values here, and I right click, go to format cells, and it's currently general. I could turn it to normal number, decimal places and thousand separator, but I'm also going to turn it to currency. I could change it if I wanted to, but I'm quite happy with the pound symbol. They're quite large numbers, I don't need a decimal place in this instance, so I'll go to 0. And I'll click OK, and you can see it's added the symbol and the comma and so forth. And that's better than manually typing in the symbol. It's a bit more consistency, it's more likely to work. The last thing I want to do is a logic test, and I've used the if function to do this. I'm looking at, in this instance, if the purchases is greater than 25,000. So my if And this bit we're just going to focus on is just this here, the logic test. It's checking to see if C10 is greater than 25,000. If you look at C10, you can see it's only 10,000, so it's not. I've asked it to return the value of true as y, and if false as n, so that's giving me n. You can see once I've done that, I've dragged it down accordingly, using this symbol just here, dragged it down, and it's worked out those answers for me. Here I wanted to work out the reverse. I wanted to work out where purchases are less than 25,000. Let's check and see if C10 is less than 25,000. Dragged it down. You may have realised at this point I'm going to miss certain values. So here's where I've got the two n's here. That's because this is 25,000. So it's not greater than, it's not less than. So occasionally you need to think about this. You may want to read the question and check. Is it saying greater than or equal to? Greater than, or in some instances, is it less than or equal to, or just less than? Okay, so in this cell, you can see I'm checking C10, see if it's greater than or equal to 25,000. In this case it's not, but this one isn't greater than, but it is equal to 25,000. So it's returned yes, y. Here, I want to do the reverse, so it checks to see if purchases are less than or equal to 25,000. You look across, it is less than or equal to, and you can see we've got my two y's, and so forth down there. So you need to read the question carefully to see what it is it's trying to show. And make sure that certain values, if you're doing this in a real life exercise, don't get missed out accordingly. Practice task. Open an Excel sheet. In column A and B, add the first names and ages of your friends and family. In column C, add the following if function and fill in the missing logic test using a cell reference and the number 13 to check to see if they're old enough to have a social media account. So if your function, you do equals if, open brackets, and then put your logic test, then a comma to separate this, and for your true value, in quotes, put can have a social media account. Don't forget to close the quotes, put a comma to then put your false, open your quotes and put not old enough, close quotes, close brackets. So that if is a logical test, what to return if true and what to return if false. Check your formula at the top, middle and bottom when you drag it down to see if the logic test is right. If not, you may need to edit it accordingly. If you need to make changes, remember to fill the changed formula down again.